New this morning, a Springfield woman has pleaded guilty to controlled substance conspiracy charges. 31-year-old Denise Guyettes conspired with two other people, Gerardo Garza and Nathan Body, to distribute different controlled substances, including methamphetamine, fentanyl pills, and cocaine in Massachusetts and other states. At the time of the arrest in February of last year, nearly 3,000 counterfeit fentanyl pills were found in a safe in Guyettes' bedroom. Body and Garza both pleaded guilty in September of last year and were sentenced to 7 years in prison and followed by 3 years of supervised release. Guyettes is currently waiting her sentence following her guilty plea.